Well, I think it went very well. We battled some injuries. It was mostly with the older guys. Brian Anderson had a little stress fracture in his foot, missed the second half of fall. And then Tyler Spoon had an issue that we're not sure exactly what it was. I guess we'll diagnose it as a hernia. And it looks like he's not going to have surgery, but he missed the last 2 weeks of fall ball. But realistically, when you're talking to older guys, we know what they can do. So it gave some younger guys a chance to get on the field a little bit more and get some more at bats in the scrimmages. But we learned a lot about the team. We still have a long way to go. I mean, we lost a lot of pitching, and that's probably my biggest concern. Who's going to start for us? We lost 3 conference starters last year, and I think this might be the first time that I can remember in a long time, or if ever, that and get at least one weekend starter back. So that is a concern for me. When you lose Stanek and Fant and Aston, those guys, they started a lot of games for us last year and actually the last couple of 3 years. So that'll be the big question mark still, and that we'll try to answer that early in the season. I feel good about our bullpen if we can keep those guys in the bullpen. Like Oliver and Beeks and some of those guys that have a lot of experience. Oliver doesn't have as much as Beeks, but he has tremendous stuff. Just a matter of, if we're going to be able to keep those guys in the pen. If not, we'll move them to the starters.
You said you learned a lot about your team. What were some of the things you learned?
Well, I think we're going to be a lot better defensively than we were last year. And we had a lot of defensive problems first half of the season. The second half of the season, we were actually pretty good. Once we just made some adjustments, McAfee kind of got settled in at short. We were able to just put Anderson in the outfield. Most of his issues were throwing. I think he relaxed when we put him out there. Right now, the way it looks shaping up, if we started tomorrow, I mean, Anderson's probably going to be our starting second baseman. And he did a tremendous job over there this fall, making plays, turning the double play. He worked hard. He worked hard in the summer. He came back. We worked hard turning that double play and handling the ball around the bag. McAfee at short right now, and he had a very good fall. He's better. His arms loosened up. He's coming off arm surgery. It's been a couple of years, but it looked as good as it looked better than it ever had since he'd been here. Throwing different arm slots, not so mechanical throwing the ball. Third base, we've got a couple of junior college guys battling for that one. Bobby Wernes is a sophomore, only played 1 year junior college ball. He was a shortstop there, and he's a very good defender. And then a young man named Mike Bernal is also battling for, also the shortstop position, but he's also battling for that third base position, and he can play second. So then you throw Serrano in, who actually fielded the ball and played very well at second base. But we see him more as a second baseman, left fielder, and maybe even play some first base for us this next year. And then Eric Fisher at first. Eric's done a great job. Obviously, it's left-handed. If he hits left-handed pitching, he'll stay in the lineup probably every day. If he doesn't, then we can always put Serrano over at first and have a few other options. Then, catching is, Jake Wise has got a ways to go with his arm. Didn't catch it all back there for us, but did get to hit all fall. Swinging the bat better than he ever has, I think, because he's really concentrating on it, and he's older. Had a rough year last year offensively. Hopefully he'll bounce back. And then Blake Baxendale's battling for that position. Who's coming off Tommy John surgery. It's been right at a year. Up and down throwing. The arm strength isn't back yet. So we just got to get him really back in baseball shape. And then we've got a couple of freshmen that are battling it out for maybe the number 3 spot. And then the outfield's solid with true freshman in center Andrew Benintendi. Had a very, very good fall. Hit for average, hit home runs, took his walks, played good defense. He won the center field job already. And then Tyler Spoon in right. Left field is probably one of the most improved players on the team is Garrett Rucker. Has battling for left along with Serrano. Serrano's just very good this fall offensively. Probably the best he's been since he's been here. He's going to be in the lineup, whether he's playing left, first, second, or DH. And so that, in a nutshell, is where we're at. There's a couple other guys battling out there, but I just feel good about those guys defensively. So I do feel like we're a lot better, especially if Jake Wise and Blake Baxendale are both healthy and they're battling it out. I think it'll make us better. So again, the big question mark is going to be that starting pitching.
Did Anderson have to have surgery on his foot, or is it
No.
kind of a natural?
No, put him real cautious with it. Put him on crutches first. Made him walk around for a week with no weight on his foot, and then put him in a walking boot for. I think he just got it off, and maybe for 3 weeks after that. So they go in and they check it. They see it, I guess, healing, fusing back together, whatever, and we feel like he'll be ready to go. And he's a little worn out. It was something he doesn't even know when he heard it. Probably just playing. He played every game for us last spring. He played summer ball. Who knows? But he just knew one day that it was hurting a lot worse than it had been, and we had it looked at, evaluated, and they found it real quick. It was easy to see.
Did you get a feel for if your hitting or your pitching was ahead of the other this fall?
I think if you take our top hitters, I feel like the hitting was a little bit ahead of the offense or ahead of the pitching. It just, we've had such good pitching in the fall with the staff we've had it for the last 3 years. It was pretty deep. It just seemed like this fall, guys like Beeks had a tremendous fall. They didn't hit him much. Oliver had tremendous stuff, velocity, but they hit him. And it's all about location with him and being able to repeat everything. And that's the biggest question mark on Chris is where he's at. Killian threw nothing but strikes, had a pretty good fall. Still working to get that killer pitch, that out pitch. If he can do that, he has a chance to be a good conference starter for us. And then you go with Poche. His first outing, Poche was outstanding, and then after that he was just okay. So it was good to see it. I was excited about it. Early September, here you go. Didn't pitch much here last year. Had a good summer, and then after that it was just pretty average stuff, and that was a little disappointing. He needs to pick it up. Because it'd be nice if Killian and Poche could grab a couple of those weekend spots and we could go from there. And probably one of the biggest improvements as far as pitching is Jackson Lowry, a right-hander out of Little Rock that we redshirted last year. He threw the ball last year in 86, 87, 88. This fall he was 90, 91. And it all sounds good on paper, but he threw it where he wanted it, and he had a pretty good breaking ball. And he also had a good summer. So those are some older guys that had pretty good falls. When they were on the mound, we didn't hit them a lot, but I think overall, if you just take our staff against the offense, I think the offense did a pretty good job.
Michael Gunn, you've had him both pitching and hitting. What are you going to
Yeah.
do with him?
Yeah, we're going to give him that opportunity at the beginning of spring. Michael's one of those guys, if you come watch him take batting practice, he can put on a show. He's probably got more power than anybody out there, and he'll hit the ball off the scoreboard and into the pond. And in the scrimmages, it doesn't happen. The swing's a little too long or whatever the case is, but he did have some good days. But the consistency's not there. But on this team, we need him to pitch. That needs to be his number one priority, and I've talked to him about it. I'm going to talk to him about it again in the meetings next week. But he will have the opportunity to continue to swing the bat. If we are swinging the bat and we don't need him, and his pitch and roll is what I think it's going to be, there's a possibility that he might put the bat down. But I would say as of right now, he's going to get every opportunity to swing it.
Is he a starter or a reliever? Or where
I don't know with him. I still think he's more of a middle reliever / closer for us. We could close by committee. It really just depends on Beeks. Beeks would like to start. We love him at the back of the bullpen. I think that there's a few guys that are in that same boat. I think Oliver would love to start, but it's nice when you can bring a guy in out of the pen that's going to throw the fastball every time, 94, 96, even touch 97 this fall. But it still doesn't mean he's going to get you out because he gave up his hits.
What about Simpson? Because you used him quite a bit.
Simpson's a guy that could spot start. He may get a starting role. He's got a lot of movement on his fastball. His velocity is up. Last year when he tried to go 90 miles an hour, because he pitched 87, 88, he got a lot of movement. He kept the ball down. This fall, his velocity is closer to 90 most of the time, and he was able to maintain the movement. But he had a very good fall as well. So, he's a possibility. It's his third year here. It's time for these guys to step up. Somebody grab that role.
You mentioned some young position players, or at least some new guys from the JC. Curious about, pitching, tackling some of those guys.
Yeah, well, we have one junior college guy. Stone is a kid that we brought in from a Texas JC drafted kid. Obviously, he didn't sign, and he's Jacob Stone's his name. And he came in and he threw the ball pretty well. Was a bullpen guy as a freshman, was a starter as a sophomore. Where's he at? Grayson? Weatherford? Yeah, Weatherford. And he just, I don't know. We're not sure what his role is going to be, but I'll tell you what, I sure like his toughness and his experience. There were a couple of times this fall where, he gutted out a couple of innings and a play. I remember a play, he took a line drive off the hip, and he got absolutely smoked. And he didn't lay on the ground, and he was in serious pain. He scrambled and got the ball and threw the runner out, and it ended an inning that he had given up a run or two. He just is a tough kid, and I like his makeup. I think he can help us a lot. And then, some of the new guys that have done a good job, you talk about Taccolini was probably the one that was highly touted. Incredible movement and very, very good stuff. But location and throwing enough strikes has not been what it needs to be. A little stiff right now. We've got to loosen him up. Really watching him to the point in the weight room where he just stretches and does agility drills. We don't even let him lift. I mean, he looks like a football player. He's got to command the fastball, and it runs all over the place. If he can throw strike one, and you're in trouble. But a lot of 3-1 counts, a lot of 3-2 counts, foul ball, ball four. I saw that happen way too much. You can't win at this level doing that. He's got to throw the ball over the plate more. Let me see here. Who else did I like a little bit? We did have one freshman, Falwell, 6'7" lefty. Was a guy that we were thinking, maybe down the road a little bit, kind of a guy that you try to project him. Well, he came in, all 6'7" of him, and threw nothing but strikes. Everything was downhill at the knees. He's got a pretty good changeup. Just got to develop that breaking ball. But I think he's going to get some innings for us. And, so those are a couple of guys that I thought did well. I think this is going to be a team that's it's going to be up to those pitchers that have been in our program to really step it up. They didn't get a lot of opportunities the last year or two because of the depth and the quality we had in front of them, and now it's their time.
Killian, because you had him, I think you started your first conference
Yep.
game last year. Do you see him improvement? Or?
Yeah, like I said, all he does is throw strikes, and you got to love that. He just needs to be able to put you away with some type of off-speed pitch, a nasty slider. And again, he's still a work in progress, but I really like the jump that he's made physically. He's a lot bigger and stronger, and then also mentally, I see him as a lot more of a leader. Last year, he just kind of hung back and maybe didn't want to say anything. I've seen him this fall really step it up, just talking to kids in the dugout. I'm hoping that he'll come in and grab that spot, whether it's Friday or Saturday. They all count the same to me, but we need him to be a conference starter for us if we have a chance to, to contend it all this year in conference play.
What do you think of Baxendale's fall and maybe the rest of the catchers?
Baxendale, first off, the arm is not back all the way, obviously. It's only been, when we started fall ball, it's 10, 11 months out. Didn't play summer ball. Probably wasn't quite ready. He thought he was in pretty good shape. He's not in real good shape physically. We got to get him there. And that'll be what we really work on with him in the next 6, 8, 10 weeks before we get back, is just getting after him physically. Then about the time he started getting it going, about mid-September, I don't know if you knew this, he got knocked off a scooter by a hit and run right outside here, turning in, got clipped. Really, really bruised his knee bad. We thought he might have a fracture in his knee. So he got knocked, just 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Oh, it happened again?
Again.
We were talking to you before.
You told us about before fall, you said he had an accident.
Who knows? He got in another accident, a car wreck. Yeah, it's been a little rough for him. So about, I think right about the first 2 or 3 days of fall ball, he's turning in right here on Norm DeBryan Way or whatever it's called, and gets clipped, goes to the ground, busts his knee up, can't play, and then tries to come back and play again and can't hardly squat. Had it x-rayed or MRI'd, everything, and it really bothered him big time. Threw him back, and then he missed a couple other days because he got pulled out of some place over here, and it was his fault. He got hit and really hurt his thumb and something else. Missed 2 or 3 more days. So he didn't get to practice a whole lot this fall. Some of it wasn't his fault. Some of it was. So he's got a long way to go, but I think he can get there.
If you got 2 catchers kind of coming off arm stuff, I mean, do you have
Yeah.
to have another one
Yeah,
available
I think we have a big time battle to see who's going to get some playing time with the Shaddy kid and the Gosser kid, and they all have they both can do a few things real well, and they need to work on some other things. One hits left-handed, one hits right-handed. Who's to say we don't use all 4 of them? I mean, I'm not against it. We'll just we'll play it by ear, just see how it goes. As this off season, Gosser's got to get in shape, and Shaddy's got to get bigger and stronger. They both hit about the same. One's small, one's big. I mean, I could go on and on. They're so different, but they're both pretty good players, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I would think that before the season starts, one of them will probably have a shot at playing, and one of them will probably talk to about redshirting, unless one of these catchers isn't bouncing back very well or something happens. I don't know.
Just looking back at the fall, and you have a change in your staff and how all that meshed and worked, the players with Tony.
Yeah. Well, I think they're still meshing. I mean, I'd been around Tony out basically on the recruiting trail for the most part, and knew all about him as a recruiter, hard worker. I mean, I don't have to tell him to go anywhere. He's gone. I have to try to figure out where he's at, to be honest with you. He was in Johnson County, Kansas the other day. Now he's in Florida. I mean, we finished scrimmaging on Friday. He drives 5 hours to Manhattan to watch tournament. I mean, that's what he does. But I think so I knew what I was getting there. The plus has been on the field. I think he's done a tremendous job on the field as far as working these guys and the way he communicates with them and his enthusiasm. I think it's been real good for us. I'm really happy with it so far.
I know he's a pretty heralded recruit, but how often does a guy come in as a freshman with fall ball and just lock up a job?
Well, it's pretty easy to see. All you had to do is be out there. But I guess he made it easy to see. He came in, and he's one of those guys. He doesn't come in. He doesn't not talking about himself or talking about the glory days and how he did this and how he did that. He doesn't talk about it. He just goes out and he plays. And every scrimmage, he gives you some good at bats, whether he takes a walk or fouls off 10 pitches before he walks. I mean, he just went out and played. I mean, he is a very good center fielder. I mean, we've had some great center fielders here. We've had Gentry and Ivner, and you could go on and on. Is he in that category? I think time will tell. I think that offensively, he's going to be a very, very good player. Already is. He can bunt for a hit. He's more of your typical leadoff man, although I wouldn't be surprised that one day if he didn't hit in a 3-hole for us, and it could be this year. It could be next year. He's a little bit older kid. As a matter of fact, I think he is kind of like Zach Cox was, a 2-year draft-eligible kid. So, hopefully we'll get him back for that 3rd year like we did. Stanek, we were worried about that, and then he missed it by a couple of days when they changed the date. But Andrews, he appears to be older than he is when he's on the baseball field and off. I mean, he's a pretty mature kid.
Hey, guy, a couple more guys steal a lot of bases too.
He can steal bases, and we will definitely see how that goes. But he did this fall. We stole a lot of bases this fall because we had a lot of young pitchers on the mound that know nothing about holding runners on. That's usually the biggest problem with the young guys. They've got good arms, but there's a lot more that goes on. In high school, they just strike everybody out. And they get here, and when you get runners on base, they're too slow to the plate, and we know that. They don't know how to hold runners on. We let them call their own game. They throw the wrong pitch. Yeah, that's what we deal with. So that's why I'm talking about the older guys instead of the younger guys.
What's the schedule?
Talk about the schedule, how it stacks up.
The schedule's pretty tough. I mean, there's no getting around it. This is going to be a year that we're going to have to play well during the week as well as the weekends if we're going to get to a regional. I mean, we're going to have to battle it. We've got Nebraska in here for 2 and UNLV in here for 2 and going to California and, playing Cal twice and Tulane and San Francisco. And usually when we go to those tournaments, they throw 3 different starters, obviously, and a lot of times we'll see number 1 maybe 2 or 3 times. So it gets interesting. It makes it I do feel like offensively we're going to compete pretty good with those teams out of the chute. It's just a matter if we can stop them, if our guys can get it done on the mound. And the reason I say that is because of what I saw this fall, and it was pretty average.
Collectively, your signing class, do you feel it's on par with some of the other ones that you brought in your past few years?
Which one?
Your signing class that's come in this year, your newcomers.
The one that's already in here?
Andy Tackling those guys.
I think it's just an okay class. I think there's not enough numbers on it. I think there's some guys that didn't, a couple of guys that didn't show up, we kind of knew they weren't. I think the numbers are down a little bit, to be honest with you. If you're asking about the class we're about to sign, I'll tell you that's the best class we're ever going to sign since I've been here. And now, how many of those guys can we get to school? That's going to be key, but that's a pretty good class, 14. The 13 class, you can take 2 or 3 guys that are really, really high-profile guys that, they priced themselves out of the draft a little bit. Taccolini being one of them, but didn't get much out of him this fall. And I think there's a lot in there. Before he's done here, he's going to be really good.
Last one?
Okay, you were talking about Andrew, but I mean, can you remember other guys that came in as true freshmen, just locked up jobs?
Zach Cox.
Okay.
It could have, James McCann could have been, but I had to try to be fair to my senior catcher. But we knew after 2 weeks fall ball who was going to catch. And we split him early, and he caught the last 30 games of the season all the way to the World Series. I mean, I felt like Eibner, pretty much proved that he was a starter. He had to start in left field instead of center his freshman year. He was pretty good. And, Wilkins was a guy, looking back on Wilkins, he started pretty much from day one as a freshman. There's been a few pitchers out there that we knew were going to no doubt going to help a lot. I mean, Stanek, we felt like he was one of them. But as far as position players, a lot of times that's tougher because it usually takes time to see them. The pitchers, they get the ball once or twice a week. It's pretty obvious. They show you what they can do or what they can't do. A hitter or a position player, base running's involved, knowing the signs. Logan Forsythe was a guy that didn't mess around a whole lot. We pretty much knew he was going to play right field, second base, third base, and he defensively, he was really ready. Offensively, it took him a little time. But I would say just right out of the chute, Benintendi's has, shown what he can do pretty quick, and that's what we need is a guy that can get on base and score runs for us. Cox, we knew he was going to be pretty darn good as well.
But it's kind of uncommon.
Yeah, it's uncommon, but we knew that if we got him to school, he was going to play. Now, do we know? I mean, I didn't know that he was going to come in and play this well this quick. I guess to answer your question.